The sky over Earth changed. It was no longer blue or bright. Shadows stretched across the cities, deep and unnatural. People stopped what they were doing, their daily lives frozen in an instant. Birds flew in a frenzy, their panicked chirps the only sound breaking the eerie silence. And then, slowly, the ships appeared. They were enormous, dark, silent, and glowing with a light no human had ever seen. Commander Elara stood on the roof of the Resistance headquarters. She'd seen many battles in her life, but this was different. The ships weren't just machines. They felt alive. She could sense a quiet, ancient power, something far beyond human understanding. Her heart beat faster, a frantic drum against her ribs, but she held herself steady. Panic would solve nothing. The ships hovered over major cities: New York, Tokyo, Cairo, London. A silent shadow cast over the entire world. And then, the communication came. It wasn't loud, no words were spoken, but it was inside her mind, clear and sharp. A voice, calm, almost curious, asked a single question that carried a weight heavier than any cannon or bomb. "You conquered Earth?" Elara froze. Who were these beings? Why did they ask that? And what did they mean by conquer? She looked at the world below her. People were staring up at the sky, some were crying, some were praying. Some were already running, hoping to survive what was coming. But Elara knew there was no running from this. This wasn't a battle she could fight with guns alone. This was something bigger. Almost to herself, Elara whispered back, "We survived." The words were simple, too simple perhaps, but they were true. Humanity had survived centuries of war, famine, disease, and even self-destruction. Somehow humans always found a way. And now, they were facing the impossible. The alien presence grew stronger, pressing on her mind, probing, testing. She had heard stories from the older generations, stories about first contact. Usually humans were wiped out quickly, no mercy, no warning. But these beings, they were different. They didn't attack. They watched. They waited. A sudden, unnerving calm fell over the city. People held their breath, their eyes fixed on the sky. Then the alien ships began to open. Not like doors, but like petals unfolding. Light spilled out, and in that light figures emerged. Tall, shimmering, almost transparent, moving like liquid. They had no eyes as we knew them, just a pure, scanning awareness. Elara was chosen to make first contact. She stepped forward, her boots heavy on the cracked concrete. Every step echoed in the silence. She carried no weapon. The people watching needed hope, and she was the symbol of it. The voice filled her mind again. This time it wasn't a question. It was a statement. Mercy is no longer a human word. Elara's stomach tightened. They had studied us. They knew our history, our wars, our betrayals, our cruelty. And now, they were judging us. She took a deep breath. She had to show them something they couldn't understand. That humans were more than their past mistakes, more than their destruction. We were survivors. We were fighters. We could rise when everything seemed lost. "We survived," she repeated, louder this time, letting the words carry over the city, over the crowd, over the fear. "We survived. We will fight. We will endure." For a moment the air felt heavy. Then one of the alien figures moved closer. It didn't speak. It didn't touch. But it made her feel small, and at the same time, intensely alive. Their attention was on her, not just her body, but her mind, her spirit, and somehow that was more terrifying than any weapon. Elara realized something chilling. The aliens weren't here to ask for surrender. They weren't here to negotiate peace. They were here to test humanity, to see if we were still worth saving, and maybe to see if we were ready for something bigger. She turned to the crowd. She saw fear in their eyes, but she also saw something else: hope, defiance, that stubborn spark of life that refused to die. Elara's voice became steady, calm, powerful. "They are testing us," she said, "but they will see who we are. They will see what humans can do. They will learn that we are not to be underestimated. The alien figure paused, and in that pause, the world seemed to hold its breath. Elara didn't know if they had heard her words, if they respected her courage or merely noted it. But one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same. The sky darkened even more. The ships moved slowly, predators circling their prey. Humanity was awake now, and the real fight, the fight to prove ourselves, had just begun. Somewhere deep inside her, Elara smiled. Fear was there, yes, but so was determination. They may have thought mercy no longer existed in human hearts, but Elara knew something stronger did. Humanity's refusal to give up, humanity's endless, unyielding will. And that would be our weapon. The alien ships didn't leave. Instead, they just hung there, silent, ominous, casting long, eerie shadows across every major city on Earth. Inside the largest ship, a place beyond human comprehension, the Council of Elders waited. They were nothing like we'd ever imagined. Imagined beings made of liquid light, tall and glowing, their forms constantly shifting, shimmering. Into this chamber they brought Elara. Her boots echoed in the impossible vastness as she stepped onto the platform. The Council's presence wasn't a physical force, but an overwhelming awareness that laid every one of her thoughts bare. "You survived," a voice echoed not through the air but directly inside her mind. "But survival alone does not make you worthy." Elara stood tall. She'd faced down armies, monsters, things that would break most people. But this was different. These beings could probably unmake the planet with a single thought. Still, she didn't bow. "Humanity is more than just survival," she said, her voice a determined whisper. "We adapt. We fight. We endure. That's our nature." The Council of Light beings seemed to pulse, intrigued. "Adaptation," they murmured in her mind. "Cunning, resourcefulness, these traits are noted." A deep silence fell, and then the chamber trembled. A vast holographic display ignited, flashing through the entirety of human history. Wars, genocides, betrayals, alongside our greatest triumphs and discoveries. The Council watched it all, their gaze piercing, analyzing the very soul of our species. "You are violent. You destroy. You betray," another voice stated, cold and sharp. "Mercy. Mercy is absent in your kind." A chill ran down Elara's spine. She couldn't deny it. The darkness in our history was undeniable. But she also knew our capacity for incredible good. Courage in the face of annihilation. Loyalty that defied logic. Love that bloomed in the darkest of times. She focused on that. "You see only our failures," she countered, her voice gaining strength. "You don't see our victories. You don't see our will to rise again when everything is lost. Mercy might not be our defining trait, but strength, endurance, and the will to protect those we love. These define us." The Council paused. Elara sensed something new in their silence. Surprise. No human had ever stood before them with such clarity, such defiance. Maybe, just maybe, they respected it. Then a sudden, terrifying thought struck her. This wasn't a judgment. It was a test. Every question, every observation, every crushing silence. It was a challenge. And if humanity failed this test, it was over. Down on Earth, the ships began to shift. Cities trembled as powerful energy beams scanned every street, every building. Panic erupted. But Elara held her ground. She had to show them who we really were. "We are not perfect," she said, her voice as steady as a rock. "We are flawed, but we are alive. And as long as we breathe, we will resist. We will protect our world. We will survive." A ripple of light passed through the Council. One of the elders leaned closer, its form twisting like a heat haze. "Curious," it communicated. "You speak of survival, yet you don't have the power to destroy as we do. You are fragile, and yet defiant. Why?" Elara's mind raced for an answer that could save billions. And then the simple, powerful truth hit her. We were physically weak, yes, but our minds, our hearts, our unbreakable will to fight against impossible odds, those were our true weapons. Because we refuse to die, she said, her voice ringing with conviction. We refuse to give up. That is the strength you can't understand. That is why humanity endures. That is why Earth still stands. The chamber was silent again. Then one elder floated to the edge of the platform. Its light dimmed, and Elara felt an icy warning course through her. You will be tested, it said. All of humanity, not with words, not with threats, but with action. Survive the coming trials, or all will be lost. Elara's heart hammered against her ribs. Trials? What do you mean? The council's forms shimmered, and a horrifying vision appeared above them. Cities on fire, buildings collapsing, humans fighting desperately against unimaginable horrors. We will watch, the voice intoned. Your world will be challenged, your resolve measured. Only then will we decide your fate. Elara's thoughts flew to the billions of lives now hanging in the balance. She swallowed her fear, replacing it with cold resolve. Then they will see the truth, she whispered. They will see what humans are truly capable of. And they will learn that while mercy may not be our first word, survival is ours. Outside, the alien fleet began to move again, spreading across the globe like a shadow. The earth trembled, bracing for the storm. And in the heart of that alien vessel, Elara knew one thing with absolute certainty. This was only the beginning. The Council's judgment had begun, and the fight to prove humanity's worth was about to start. The sun rose, but its light felt strange, tainted. Across the world, the shadows of alien ships fell long and unnatural, stretching over our cities like fingers of dread. We had felt the Council's judgment, and a suffocating fear settled over every home, every street. But in the midst of that chaos, a single spark refused to die. Hope. On the command deck of the last standing military base, Commander Elara looked out at her makeshift army. Soldiers, scientists, civilians, all that was left, all gathered together. We were outgunned, outnumbered, outmatched in every conceivable way. But we had something the aliens hadn't accounted for, something they couldn't possibly understand. Human ingenuity. The first strike hit without warning. Colossal energy beams sliced through New York's skyscrapers, as if they were made of paper. Cars erupted in fireballs, streets split open, and the air filled with screams. The aliens weren't just destroying us, they were testing us, probing our defenses. Do not scatter. Elara's voice cut through the noise. Use the streets, the buildings, anything, hit them where they are weak. Her team, a blend of military and civilian experts, moved like phantoms. They had pored over the alien scans, finding patterns, tiny windows of opportunity where their defenses lagged for just a moment. We could exploit that. In a debris-choked alley, a group of soldiers rigged an improvised trap. They used old surveillance drones, scrap metal, even discarded fire barrels, turning the city's trash into weapons. As a sleek alien scout ship descended into the narrow space, they held their breath. And then, with a unified roar, they struck. Explosions tore through the alley, a chaotic symphony of light and metal. The alien ship staggered back, wounded. Elara's heart pounded. They did it. We hit back. It was the first blow landed by humanity. But she knew this was no time for celebration. The aliens were adaptive, they would learn from this, and they would return stronger. Across the city, ordinary people were finding their own ways to survive. Some fled into the subway tunnels, creating new communities in the dark. Others used the rooftops as silent highways, moving unseen above the chaos. This wasn't just a war for soldiers, it was a fight for survival, and our collective creativity was becoming our greatest weapon. From a high vantage point, Elara watched the battlefield unfold. She saw the alien patterns, every movement precise, every strike calculated with cold, alien logic. But there was one variable they couldn't model: our unpredictability. We fought with instinct, with raw courage, and sometimes with pure, unyielding stubbornness. Suddenly, a massive alien drone descended near the command base. It was huge, its metallic body glowing with terrifying energy. Our soldiers opened fire, but their bullets just sparked harmlessly against its armor. A wave of panic began to ripple through the ranks. Elara knew this could be the end. She had to act. "Listen to me," she yelled, her voice amplified across the comms. "We can't fight it head on. We have to trick it. Lead it into the streets, into the traps we set." The soldiers hesitated for a heartbeat, then moved. They became the bait, a dangerous, desperate gambit. They drew the massive drone into a narrow street lined with the same explosive barrels from before. Elara watched, her mind racing. Timing was everything. 1 second too soon or 1 second too late, and they would all be vaporized. Boom! The trap sprung. The barrels detonated in a chain reaction, engulfing the drone in fire and shrapnel. The colossal machine was thrown into a collapsed building, and a thick cloud of dust choked the air. For a moment, there was only silence. Then a cheer erupted, a raw, triumphant sound that echoed through the ruins. We had won another small, impossible victory. But every victory had its price. Soldiers were injured. Civilians were lost. Elara felt the weight of each loss, a sharp pain in her chest. This was only the beginning. The aliens would be back, more powerful, more careful. As night fell, the alien ships hovered once more, silent and menacing. Elara knew the council was up there, watching, analyzing our every move. We had proven our ingenuity. We had shown our defiance. But the real test was yet to come. She turned to her team, their faces smudged with dirt and lit by the glow of monitors. "They think they can scare us," she said, her voice steady and firm. "They think they can break us. But they don't understand. We are human, and as long as we breathe, we will fight. We will adapt, and one day, we will show them what humanity is truly capable of." In the shadows of the broken city, people whispered stories of the day's fight. The fear was still there, a cold companion in the dark. But now it was joined by something else, something stronger. Pride. We had faced gods and made them bleed. And that tiny spark of hope, now burning brighter than ever, was about to ignite a fire of resistance that could never be extinguished. From high above, the council watched. Their glowing forms shimmered as their minds calculated. Humanity had survived the first trial, but the question remained, could they survive what was coming next? The night was quiet, but the silence was heavy. Cities were scarred, streets filled with rubble, and smoke curled into the dark sky. Humanity had survived the first strike, but the council's judgment still hung over them like a shadow that would not lift. Commander Elara walked through the ruins with her team. Every step was a reminder of the lives lost, but also of the lives that remained. Humans had always found a way, even in the worst of times. But now they needed to discover something more, something the aliens had not expected. In an underground lab beneath the shattered city, scientists and soldiers worked together feverishly. Strange devices hummed and glowed. Screens displayed data from alien scans, energy readings, and behavioral patterns. They were searching for a way to fight back, a way to turn the odds in humanity's favor. Dr. Kyle, the lead scientist, approached Elara. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with excitement. "Commander," he said, "we've found something remarkable. Something the aliens don't understand about humans." Elara frowned. "Explain." Dr. Kale pointed at a screen showing brain scans of volunteers. "Humans have a latent ability, an energy within our bodies and minds that can be amplified. We call it resonance. Under extreme stress or when survival is at stake, certain humans can manipulate energy fields, even influence matter in subtle ways. It's not widespread yet, but it's enough to turn the tide if we train it." Elara's eyes widened. "You mean humans can fight them in ways they cannot predict?" Kale nodded. "Exactly. Humans are more than muscle and technology. We are adaptable, unpredictable, and now, potentially powerful in ways they never imagined." Outside, the alien ships moved silently across the horizon. They were still watching, still probing, still judging, but the humans didn't know the extent of the council's observation. Every move they made, every plan they created, was noted. The aliens had underestimated one thing: Human creativity under pressure. Elara gathered her team. "Listen carefully," she said. "We've survived before. We've adapted before. And now we have something they cannot calculate, something that is ours alone. This could be the edge we need, but we must train it, control it, and use it wisely. One mistake could destroy us all." Over the next days, humans trained in secret. Volunteers pushed themselves to their limits, discovering how their bodies and minds could bend energy, influence small devices, and even disrupt alien systems. At first, it was chaotic: fires, sparks, accidents. But slowly, mastery began to emerge. Meanwhile, the Council observed silently. Their glowing forms shimmered as they calculated probabilities. Humans were showing signs of unpredictability, of defiance beyond mere instinct. This was unexpected. One night, Elara stood on a hill overlooking the city. She felt a pulse deep in her chest, the resonance within her. It was subtle, but she could sense its power. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "They will see that humans are not just survivors. We are creators, fighters, and something more, something they cannot understand." Suddenly, a scout ship descended, piercing the night. Alarms rang across the city. But instead of panic, humans moved with precision. Using their newfound abilities, they disrupted the ship's energy field, forcing it to crash into an abandoned factory. Cheers erupted from the survivors below. Humanity had struck again, but this time with something alien technology could not fully counter. Elara realized the truth. The Council's tests were coming, bigger and more dangerous than anything before. But humans were no longer just reacting. They were preparing. They were evolving. And in that evolution lay the spark that could defy even the mightiest aliens. As dawn broke, painting the ruined city gold, Elara looked at the faces of her people. Fear was still there, but so was awe. They had discovered their hidden strength. They were no longer just defending Earth. They were becoming something more, something the Council might not be able to destroy. And deep in the shadows of the alien ships above, the Council whispered among themselves. They are learning, adapting, evolving. Perhaps they are not just worthy of judgment. Perhaps they are dangerous, very dangerous. The game had changed. Humanity had found its edge. And the trials of survival were about to become far more intense. The city was quiet, but it was the kind of quiet that sends a shiver down your spine. We'd survived the first alien strikes, discovered our own hidden powers, and even pushed back their scouts. But in the silence, I sensed a new threat, something far more sinister than any alien ship in the sky. It was distrust, a poison spreading through our own ranks. Down in the underground command center, the whispers were getting louder. Some people, terrified by the aliens' overwhelming power, believed our only hope for survival was to surrender. They thought submission was the price for safety. A faction had formed, led by a man named Varric, a former high-ranking officer. I learned he was secretly communicating with the Alien Council, offering them our secrets, our resources, our plans, all in exchange for the safety of his own little group. He was ready to sell out all of humanity just to save his own skin. I found out about the betrayal just as his faction launched their attack, not against the aliens, but against us. They targeted one of our resonance training facilities, a place where new volunteers were learning to harness their abilities. Sparks flew, and the scream of alarms tore through the underground complex. The training devices exploded, and chaos erupted. Volunteers screamed as the very experiments meant to empower them became weapons. Kale, one of our best trainers, ran towards me, his eyes wide with panic. "Elara, they're trying to hand us over," he shouted over the noise. "If they succeed, the Council will destroy everything we've built." My chest tightened. Betrayal. It's always been a human weakness, and now it was about to unravel everything we had fought for. There was no time to hesitate. We stopped them. "Now," I commanded, my voice cutting through the panic. "All units, secure the lab and protect the volunteers." Immediately, soldiers and civilians moved as one, their fear replaced by resolve. They formed barricades, cutting off the saboteurs, the air thick with tension. Every footstep echoed like a drumbeat of war. As the chaos unfolded inside, the alien ships outside shimmered in the sky, observing us silently. Maybe they expected this, counting on our own nature to tear us apart. But that didn't make the betrayal any less dangerous. Then Varric appeared at the main entrance, a smug, self-satisfied smirk on his face. "Elara, you fight for ideals," he called out. "We fight to survive. The Council can offer protection. Why sacrifice everything for pride?" I met his gaze, my voice steady but sharp. "Survival without honor is not life, Varric. You think the Council will spare you? They will take everything. Humanity is not just flesh and fear. It is spirit. And you've forgotten what it means to be human." My words hung in the air. A new kind of energy filled the room, not from the exploding devices but from the people. Inspired, the volunteers refused to back down. Even untrained, they began to channel their resonance, sending out bursts of energy that blocked Varric's escape routes. His faction panicked, their plan crumbling around them as they realized their betrayal had failed. Varric's face twisted with rage and fear. "You will regret this," he hissed, retreating into the shadows. "The Council will not forget your insolence." He was right about one thing. The aliens would be watching, noting every weakness. Our internal conflict had just become part of their larger test. Once the facility was secure, I turned to the survivors, their faces smudged with soot but their eyes burning with a new fire. "We are human," I said, my voice echoing in the ruined chamber. "We fight for each other, not just for safety. Every time we rise from betrayal, from fear, we grow stronger. The Council may test us, they may try to break us, but they will never understand what we are capable of when we stand together." Outside, the alien ships stirred. Their scanners swept across the city, sensing the surges of resonance energy. Perhaps they had predicted our betrayal, but in doing so, they had accidentally revealed our true strength. Even when divided, even when fear threatened to destroy us from within, we fought back. We endured. Watching the horizon, I knew the real trials were still to come. But now, I was certain of one thing. Humanity's greatest power wasn't just survival. It was the unity we forge in the fire of adversity. And I imagined deep in the shadows of their motherships, the Council was whispering, "They betray themselves, yet they endure. This will be far more difficult than we thought. Perhaps they are not just survivors. Perhaps they are dangerous." The Council had spoken. Their ships, which had hung silent in the sky, now shifted into a grim formation, casting the world below into deep, unnatural shadows. A voice, not heard with ears but felt in the very soul, resonated in the minds of every man, woman, and child. "Your trial begins. Survive 72 hours or perish." Commander Elara felt the chilling weight of those words. 72 hours. Not just a battle, but a test of an entire species. Every city, every street, every single human would be judged. The Council would observe every action, every mistake, and the price of failure was total annihilation. A wave of panic rippled across the globe, but it was quickly replaced by something else. Something older. Soldiers reinforced barricades. Scientists scrambled to calibrate new resonance amplifiers. Civilians moved to designated safe zones. Fear was a cold, heavy blanket, but beneath it, a fierce fire of determination began to burn. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. We had clawed our way through too much history to be erased by an unseen cosmic judge. The first wave hit at dawn. Alien drones, sleek and silent, descended upon major cities. They were terrifyingly efficient, slicing through power lines, smashing buildings into rubble, and firing energy pulses that tore through streets like bolts of lightning. Panic erupted. Chaos reigned. But through the smoke and screams, Elara moved like a force of calm energy. Her voice cut through the noise. "Focus, use your resonance, think creatively. Every weakness they show us, every opening they leave, we will exploit it." And humanity fought back. It was a beautiful, desperate symphony of defiance. We used a mix of old-school military tech, guerrilla tactics learned from our own bloody history, and our newfound resonance powers. Energy surged from trained individuals, disrupting the alien drones, sending them spiraling into buildings. Improvised traps, born from sheer ingenuity, brought down massive alien craft in the narrow canyons of our cities. For every devastating blow the aliens landed, we struck back, hard, unpredictable, and relentless. But the Council's observation was as relentless as their attack. Every small victory came at a terrible cost. Heroes were made and lost in moments. Buildings that had stood for centuries crumbled into dust. Our cities became war zones straight out of ancient legends. Yet through the chaos, one undeniable truth emerged. We weren't just fighting for individual survival. We were fighting for each other. Every act of bravery, every calculated risk, every small, impossible victory was amplified by our unity. At the 50-hour mark, Elara knew a defensive war wouldn't be enough. She led a daring, almost suicidal mission. A small elite team would infiltrate an alien control point, a hovering fortress bristling with energy shields and defenses. The goal: to sever the central link that coordinated the global assault. One misstep, one wrong move, meant instant death. They moved like shadows, weaving through automated defenses, dodging searing energy pulses, and using their resonance abilities to manipulate the alien systems themselves. Inside the control chamber, they found it, a glowing network of energy conduits pulsing like the arteries of some great beast. With precision born of desperation, Elara directed her team. They channeled their combined resonance energy into the system. Sparks flew, alarms blared across alien frequencies. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed impossible. Then, with a deep, shuddering groan that echoed through the fortress, the alien network faltered. Across the planet, the effect was immediate. Drones fell from the sky like rain. The coordinated assault broke. Humanity had done the impossible. From the battered streets below, cheers erupted as people watched the machines of war crash and burn. The energy surge had sent a message, not just to the Council, but to every human fighting on the ground. We were capable of more than we had ever imagined. From the silent motherships, the Council observed. Their shimmering forms calculated, analyzed. Humans had survived the 72 hours. They had endured, adapted, and fought with a creativity that no algorithm could predict. Perhaps they realized these beings were not merely survivors. They were something more. Elara stood on a hill overlooking her wounded but victorious city. Her chest heaved, and her eyes reflected the glow of fires and victory lights. She whispered to the wind, "We are human, we endure, we survive, and we will rise stronger than they can ever imagine." The Council's voice entered her mind one last time. It was calm, devoid of threat, and held a tone of what might have been respect. "You have survived, but this is only the beginning." Elara knew it was true. This trial was won, but the galaxy held greater challenges, greater threats. Yet for the first time she felt a quiet, unshakable certainty. We were no longer just a planet-bound species. We were fighters, creators, conquerors of impossible odds. As night fell, the world stirred with a cautious, hard-won hope. We had faced the Council and lived, and the fire of our determination now burned brighter than any star in the sky. The world was quiet. Cities bore the deep scars of war, their streets choked with rubble. Above, the night sky still held the dark silhouettes of alien ships, silent monuments to a conflict that had consumed generations. Yet for the first time in decades, humans breathed not just in fear, but in triumph. Commander Elara stood atop a hill, overlooking the skeletal remains of what was once a bustling metropolis. Fires still burned in the distance, but they were no longer just signs of destruction. They were beacons of survival, testaments to courage, proof of humanity itself. Every shattered street, every weary survivor, every desperate act of defiance had led to this singular, fragile moment of peace. Suddenly, the Council appeared. Their forms glowed like liquid light, descending slowly from the heavens. They hovered in a perfect silent formation, observing not as predators but as judges, as witnesses. Across the planet, the entire human race held its collective breath. A voice resonated directly in Elara's mind. It was calm, but carried a weight beyond comprehension. Humans, you have endured. You have fought. You have survived where none should. Yet, survival alone is not enough. Show us your strength, your spirit. Elara stepped forward. Her gaze swept past the ethereal aliens to the world behind her. Survivors, soldiers, and the newly awakened resonance users gathered, standing tall despite their exhaustion and loss. They were battered, broken, but united. Defiant. They were human. She whispered, not to the council but to every soul on earth. Mercy may not be our word. Fear may challenge us. But survival, courage, creativity, these are ours. And we will show them who we are. The council watched as humanity demonstrated its ingenuity one final time. Resonance users, conduits of a power once thought impossible, amplified their abilities. They wove intricate energy fields that shielded entire cities, redirecting alien energy strikes with a flick of the wrist. They reached out with their minds, influencing enemy ships to falter and stray from their courses. Drones, once instruments of terror, spiraled from the sky. Alien formations wavered, thrown into chaos. Every action revealed something the Council had never anticipated. Humans did not just survive, they adapted, they evolved, they conquered the impossible through sheer spirit, intelligence, and unbreakable will. A sudden, profound hush fell over the world. The Council's glowing forms pulsed with an intensity that made even the bravest human feel infinitesimally small. Then, the eldest of their kind floated forward. Its form shimmered, and for a moment, the entire world seemed to pause, caught in the gravity of its presence. "You have proven it," the voice echoed across the globe. "Mercy may have left your kind, but we see something else now. Strength, will, determination. Humanity is remarkable, dangerous, worthy." Elara finally exhaled, feeling the weight of decades of fear, struggle, and sacrifice begin to lift from her shoulders. Humanity had been tested, pushed to the absolute brink, and judged by beings beyond all comprehension. And they had not only survived, they had won respect. Not through submission, but through courage, defiance, and relentless ingenuity. The Council rose higher, their luminous forms dissipating slowly into the sky like mist at dawn. But a final, subtle message lingered in the minds of every human. The galaxy watches now. Your kind has proven itself. Continue to rise, or the challenges ahead will be greater than any you have faced. Elara turned to her people, her voice carrying across the ruined but resilient city. "This is only the beginning," she declared. "We are human. We endure. We create. We survive. And no one, no alien, no challenge can ever take that away from us. Humanity has conquered fate itself." Cheers erupted, a sound that hadn't been heard in a generation. It was not a roar of triumph over an enemy, but a cry of pride in survival, in unity, and in the unquenchable human spirit. They had faced beings that dwarfed them in power, survived betrayal from within, and awakened abilities that defied logic. They had shown the galaxy, and more importantly, themselves, what it truly meant to be human. And in that moment, Earth was no longer just a planet struggling to survive. It was a testament to the indomitable will of its people. A spark that would one day illuminate the stars. The Council had gone. They left our world scarred, battered, but defiantly alive. Our cities, once proud monuments of glass and steel, were now skeletons reaching for a sky that no longer felt like a ceiling. Yet, amidst the ruins, life was stirring. A stubborn, resilient pulse thrummed through the dust and rubble. We were rebuilding not just our homes, but ourselves. We were stronger now, wiser. The latent abilities, the hidden powers that had awoken within us during the conflict, were no longer a source of fear. They were now being studied, honed, and trained in newly established academies across the planet. For the first time in our history, we looked up at the stars not with a sense of dread, but with a burning ambition. I stood atop the twisted remains of what had once been the tallest skyscraper in the city, the wind whipping through my hair. Commander Elara. The title felt heavy, earned through fire and loss. My eyes scanned the horizon, where the setting sun painted the clouds in hues of orange and purple. The alien ships were gone, vanished as quickly as they had appeared. But their final words echoed in the silence, a promise and a warning. The galaxy watches now. Do you think they will come back? A young soldier, barely an adult, stood beside me. His voice was filled with a mixture of awe and apprehension as he stared at the first stars beginning to pierce the twilight. I allowed a faint smile to touch my lips, my gaze fixed on the glittering tapestry of the night sky. Perhaps, I said, my voice steady, but if they do, they will not find the same humans they tried to judge. We survived. We adapted. And in the process, we discovered a strength we never knew we possessed. I turned to him, the fire of conviction in my eyes. Humanity is no longer confined to a single planet. We are a force. Across the world, this sentiment was taking root. In repurposed stadiums and cleared-out city squares, survivors practiced their newfound resonance abilities. Children bent streams of water into intricate shapes. Builders levitated massive girders into place, and soldiers trained to create shields of pure energy. We were building defenses, yes, but we were also exploring the incredible possibilities that lay before us. We were preparing for the unknown. The Council's judgment had taught us a brutal but necessary lesson. Survival alone was not enough. To truly endure, to thrive in a universe far larger and more complex than we had ever imagined, we needed more. We needed the strength to stand our ground, the courage to face what lay beyond our atmosphere, the creativity to solve problems that seemed impossible, and above all, the unity to do it together. These were the pillars upon which we would build our future. And in the shadowy corners of the galaxy, in chambers of light and energy we could not yet comprehend, the Council whispered. Their forms shifted, their voices a low hum of cosmic energy. They endure, one said. They grow, another observed. A third, ancient and vast, seemed to ponder our fate. Perhaps they are ready for what lies beyond their stars. Back on Earth, I turned to my team, a new generation of leaders forged in the crucible of war. Earth is safe. For now, I began, my voice ringing with purpose. But the universe is vast, and our work has only just begun. We must prepare. We must explore. Humans will rise beyond this world. I let my gaze sweep over their determined faces. One day, other civilizations will learn what it means to face humanity. They will learn not to underestimate us. I raised my hand to the sky, closing my eyes and feeling the pulse of resonance deep within me. It was a faint thrum, like a distant drumbeat, but it was powerful, a connection to every other human on the planet who shared this gift. Humanity's spark, once a tiny flicker in the cosmic darkness, had grown into a beacon that would shine brightly across the galaxy, a declaration of our existence. And somewhere, far beyond the familiar constellations of our night sky, ancient eyes watched that light. They saw our potential, our fire, our unyielding spirit. The battle for Earth was over, but the true adventure for humanity, an adventure bigger and grander than any war fought on our little blue planet, was only just beginning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this glimpse into a new future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to join us on our journey to the stars.